Hey guys, this is Gripst, and I would like all of you to do me a favor if you can. Just for a minute, forget everything you know about poker. Forget about the cards, forget about bluffing, forget about hand rankings, everything. And now ask yourself, why do we play poker? Well, if you're like most people, you probably came up with one of the following. Make money, for the entertainment, and finally to challenge ourselves mentally. But the truth is, for all those reasons comes something much more fundamental. I want to give you the main reason we play poker, the reason the game works, and that is the antes and blinds. In Hold'em, a big blind and a small blind must be posted by two players before the cards are dealt. In other forms of poker, everyone must put an ante to the pot before the cards are dealt and the game begins. If it weren't for this dead money up for grabs at the start of each hand, everyone would just sit back, wait for pocket aces, and no action would ever happen. There'd be no reward for playing anything different than the nuts. These dead monies are what force the action and make the game work. So when you're playing, I always want you to remember, the ultimate goal in poker is to simply win the blinds and antes with little risk. Winning stacks, bluffing, and all the exciting parts of the game, they derive from this initial struggle to win the blinds. So, why do we want to win the blinds? Well, the obvious answer is that the blinds are real money, money we'd like to have. But on a deeper level, the blinds are the price of playing poker. An example would be when you sit down to play a 1-2 no limit game, you pay $2 for your first hand, $1 for your next hand, and the following hands are free until it's your turn to post a blind again. So, if we can steal the blinds once a round, we're, in essence, playing poker for free. And remember, just because someone is in the big blind, it doesn't mean they've got a good hand. Most of the time, and this is well over 50% of the time, the players in the blinds will have absolute garbage and will allow you to take their blinds with very little risk to you. That's why in poker, the blinds are often referred to as dead money. So, let's look at a typical poker hand and how we go about stealing the blinds. For this example, we're going to be playing 5-10 no limit. So the big blind is $10 and the small blind is $5. Our goal will be to steal the small blind and the big blind that have been posted. So, to steal the blinds, you gotta raise. You might have heard our friend Mike Sexton say on the World Poker Tour, the price of poker is going up, friends. This is what he's referring to. Now, instead of it costing $1 to see the flop, as it would if everyone just limped, it will cost whatever price we set. So let's go ahead and see how much we decided to make it. $3.5 big blinds. So once we've raised to 3.5 big blinds, if Stack Attack is unwilling to put in 3 more big blinds to see the flop, and Rain Man is unwilling to put in 2.5 more big blinds to see the flop, we'll win the blinds. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Stack Attack is out and Rain Man is out. So both blinds fold and we buy ourselves 10 free hands of poker or win 1.5 blinds on our successful steal attempt. As you can see, my holding in the hand had no bearing on the outcome of my steal attempt. What was more important than my holding was that before I decided to steal, I took a look at the percentage likelihood that I could expect a fold from my opponents, both Stack Attack and Rain Man. The first reason this was a good spot to steal the blinds is because I was on the button, and with only 2 players to get through to succeed in my steal attempt, the odds of them not having a hand is quite high. Whereas if, say, we had been in Tommy's seat and tried to steal the blinds, we would have had to hope that 8 players didn't have any real holdings, which is much more difficult and successful much less often. Also, some players like to defend their blinds with a lot of hands, whereas some players like to let their blinds go very easily. In this case, I picked a couple guys who only like to play the really strong hands, so about 90% of the time each of these guys is going to fold, and that is a very high success rate, which will show an immediate profit on blind stealing. But we can't know that as soon as we sit down who likes to defend and who likes to give up their blinds really easily. So in a later lesson, we will have a poker tracker statistical analysis lesson, which will cover which players like to give up their blinds, which players like to protect their blinds, and what are profitable spots to try to steal the blinds so you can enjoy a high success rate on your stealing attempts. So fortunately here I picked a good spot to steal. Neither of my opponents woke up with a strong enough hand to call me. Blind stolen, mission accomplished. I'll be getting the next 10 hands for free, and maybe I'll be lucky enough to pick up pocket aces and win a big pot in one of those hands. And just for those of you who are curious, on this hand I actually had ace-jack suited, so even if one of the blinds did decide to call me, there's a good chance that my ace-jack would have been the best hand and I could have won a bigger pot later in the hand. So I hope that did a decent job of illustrating how we go about stealing the blinds. We'll look at when to steal the blinds profitably in some later lessons. So let's look at a little math on stealing the blinds. So first, the pot contains 1.5 big blinds. That's the small blind and the big blind, and any no-limit hold'em game before the cards are dealt. This is the reward that we are seeking to obtain. And for simplicity, although when we get to the real lessons, I'll probably advocate raising either 3.5 or 4 big blinds. But for simplicity, we're going to use 3 big blinds to steal. And that's going to be the risk that we take in our quest to obtain the blinds. So we raise 3 big blinds with the hopes of winning 1.5 blinds. That's our risk, and that's our reward. So let's look first if we are able to succeed with our steal half the time. If this is the success rate we have, 50%, we will actually expect a loss of 1.5 big blinds, since one time we are winning the 1.5 blinds in the pot, and the other time we are losing 3 big blinds for an overall loss of 1.5 blinds. Now if our success rate goes up to 67%, now we're breaking even. Because one time out of 3, we're going to lose the 3 big blinds that we took as our risk, but the other 2 times out of 3, we'll be getting our reward of 1.5 big blinds for a total 3. Put them together, you're breaking even. If you can get your success rate up just a little bit higher to 70%, you are now seeing an immediate profit. 3 times out of 4, we're winning 1.5 big blinds for a total gain of 4.5. And the other time out of 4, where things don't work out, we will lose 3. But we will see an overall profit of 1.5 big blinds. So, what I hope you take away from this is that if you can know when to be aggressive and go after the blinds and see a high success rate of over 67%, you'd be making money playing no-limit hold'em without ever even seeing a flop. And this concept also of raising to steal the blinds has more benefits than the immediate profit you experience if you have a high success rate. It starts us on one of the 3 key concepts of being a successful no-limit hold'em player, which is aggression. We will cover that topic in depth in a later lesson. So, whatever blinds you're playing with, the math will always be the same for the game. Whether you're playing 50, 100 no limit with a buy-in of $10,000 or a 5-cent, 10-cent no limit game with a buy-in of $10, the game will always be the same. So when you're playing poker, I want you to think in terms of big blinds, not in terms of actual dollars. The only thing that really changes between stakes is the caliber of opponent. So, as long as you can think in terms of big blinds instead of dollars, I promise you, you will already be ahead of the game. Next, in our review, if you can be successful at stealing the blinds once per round, you are free rolling. You could pretty much play poker for eternity, since each round you will be stealing the costs of playing from your opponents. When it's time to pay up, you just use the money you got off them, and you maintain all the rest of your money in your stack for yourself. If you raise 3 big blinds to steal the blinds, whether you're playing 50 cents or $50 blinds, the math will be the same as I said before. If your raise is working more than 2/3 of the time, you are immediately winning money, and again, we don't even need to see a flop. Lastly, an important note I learned from Mr. Sklansky is that we always need to remember that the blinds are the price we pay to play poker. Just because we are the one who posted the big blind does not mean that we have something invested in the pot. The blinds are a forced payment we must make. We don't have a choice in this matter, and once the money is in the pot, it belongs to the pot. Always remember when you're playing poker, once you have made a bet, a raise, or anything and put money into the pot, that money no longer belongs to you. You shouldn't feel attached to it. It now belongs to the pot. I hope this was a helpful introduction on the importance of stealing the blinds and what makes poker tick, and I look forward to continuing our education next lesson. Thanks, guys.